I did have a big wedding on Saturday. As far as like size of room and guests, one of the larger ones I've ever done, and probably the biggest one I had this year. And I thought it would definitely be useful to talk about big weddings with you guys and give you guys some tips if you or have one coming up, or if you ever book a very, very big wedding. Big weddings to me are 250 people plus. It would basically make it 200. You could say 200 plus is a big wedding, but 250 plus, almost always you're in a very, very large area. And it's kind of like a whole nother ball game. Like there's a couple little nuances like to think about, a couple little differences between really, really big weddings and the smaller ones. They do have a lot in common. It's all about two people getting married and love and all that. You got similar formalities. You play it similarly, right? It's a wedding at the end of the day, just with mad more people. But there are some things to think about. And I want to give you guys some tips on this in case you have any big weddings coming up. So the first thing to think about is you got to use the right equipment. And I'm talking speakers, mics, lighting, across the board. You got to use the right equipment. The old joke, you see memes going around, people saying the Evolve 50, Evolve 50 people, they'll use it at any wedding, any venue, no matter how big. Evolve 50s cover it, right? It kind of applies to this. When you have a big wedding, when you have 200 plus, 250 plus people, in my case, I had over 300 people, and it was a very large space, probably 40-foot ceilings. I don't know how big that space was. It was huge. It was very, very big. I think you have to use a minimum. I think any column array setup, okay, like you can't pick on Evolve 50s, like any Evoxes, the LD systems, the JBL, whatever the hell you use, anything compact will not work. You have to have a bigger system. So in my opinion, if you book a bigger wedding like this, if you don't own dual 18-inch subs, dual, two 15-inch tops, that are powerful too, like not low end, but like generally powerful, then like I would rent equipment at the very least. Don't try and do a wedding that's very large with not enough sound, because you're setting yourself up to fail. If you're not loud enough, and then to get loud enough, it sounds like shit. You know what I mean? Like you're setting yourself up. Sound matters, whether you like it or not. Like people realize they don't have to be sound engineers to realize something sounds like shit, something's not loud enough. You have to be at a certain volume to keep people dancing, to really have people feel the music and all that good stuff. So, when you're going into big rooms, I highly recommend dual 18-inch subs at the minimum. If you don't, maybe 4 of them if they're not super powerful, just know what you need, okay? And rent it. It's no big deal to rent equipment. If you only get one off, if you happen to, most of your weddings, 150, 200 people, right? And you got a perfect setup, everything sounds great, but you just happen to get this 400-person wedding one time this year, rent the stuff. Trust me. Spend a little extra money. Charge them a little extra. And rent the proper equipment. That way you're setting yourself up to succeed. Same things with mics and lighting. Lighting, not all lighting's the same. You got those little baby spots. You're not going to see those things in a big room like this, right? I didn't have lighting at this wedding. I set up lighting for no reason, just to make it look good, like right where I was. But actually, they didn't purchase any lighting. But still, if you do have lighting, you got to have powerful spots. Your uplighting has to be powerful enough to shoot up a 30, 40-foot wall. Things like that. You want to have the proper lights. You can't bring a gig bar to this thing, like a gig bar won't do anything to a dance floor that's like the size of like literally an average venue is like the size of this dance floor. It's like insane how big this is, right? So same thing. If there's a one-off gig that you got, 400-person wedding out of nowhere, most of your weddings are perfect, your gig bar works great, well, rent the lighting too. If they get lighting, sub it out. Get the right stuff. It's going to make a huge, huge difference. Huge difference. You're going to look goofy with subpar lighting. And then microphones. I mentioned microphones just because it's such a big room. What if the toast is on the other side of the room? It could be 200, 300 feet. It could be a whole football field away from your receiver to the toast. So you have to have a robust mic system as well, something to consider, Your mic might work great in smaller rooms and stuff like that, but like when you're across you're literally a football field away across the entire room, and also past like 150, 200, 300 cell phones that are in the room, all, bringing a signal, depending on if you're near a metropolitan area, all that. There's so many factors that can, make your mic cut out. If you just have like a regular mic system, you don't have anything, you don't have half-wave antennas, you don't have a distribution system, things like that. Like same thing. Rent it if you don't have it, okay? Or at least, know that you have a robust system that'll go that far. Because I've been there, people. I've been there. I've taken the big gigs years and years ago, and then I come, my little like Shure BLX 4R receivers with the little guys, like the size of my fingers, the little antennas, and then sure enough, toast happened, and I'm holding the whole receiver up like Simba. Just please. Please don't cut out again, because you have 300 people, 400 people turn around looking at you because your mic's cut out. Don't do it to yourself, okay? Think about this, all right? And I'm not, we all start somewhere. I'm not saying we all need this robust system. It depends what you do, but if you happen to get a gig like this, you're going to need it. There's no way around it, okay? Your mic never cuts out until it does, okay? So many people with subpar mic setups, oh, it's great, it works great, never had a problem, until you do, to me, I'd rather have overkill when it comes to a mic, but generally speaking, definitely think about this when it comes to big weddings. Trust me. The second thing is when you're setting up, especially with bigger rooms, you got to think about like sound, the acoustics, and the aesthetics, right? You want it to look good, but at the same time, more importantly, you want it to sound good, be even across the room. So I think the way you set up your equipment definitely matters. And I want to show you how I set up mine. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw this, but I wanted to show you how I set up mine and kind of explain why I did so, okay? So, like, if you look at the map, this is the map that the wedding planner sent me, okay? So this is the whole map. You had a 30 by 30 dance floor. You got 40 tables going around. The bride and groom is dead center, right up top of the dance floor there, on a stage. And, and then I'm there to the right. So your first, I think what a lot of us would do, right, is you would, be DJ, and then you would have your two speakers on either side right there, and you play like that. Now, obviously, my first reaction to looking at this is like, why am I not in the middle? Why is the couple table not on the opposite side, right, in the center there? We should be on the middle, right on the dance floor. That's just how we should set up. And I agree with that, okay? But sometimes you can't get around it. Sometimes venues are stuck on it. Sometimes couples are, kind of in love with the idea of being the center, and that's it. It's kind of, this was a situation where like I didn't really push hard because I had an idea on how to set it up, and I'm going to show you what I did, and it kind of worked out pretty well. So I didn't really. I picked my battles. I was like, why argue this? Why like go out of my way to kind of fight with them about this? So I didn't. But regardless, if you lose the battle, you end up having to set up in a kind of a weird spot. You definitely, in my opinion, you don't want to set up your speakers right by you like that in a big room like this. It's a huge room because now you're super loud for the tables right in front of you, so you can reach the other tables. You want to spread it out so you're more evenly sounded, so you don't have to blast your stuff as loud, especially during dinner and toast and stuff like that. The more even you have everything spread out, the more even your sound, the less loud you have to be, the more happy all the guests are. And no matter where you're at, everything sounds great. That's the goal. I mean, why would you, what's better about a house system, anywhere? It's because like it's even, house systems are installed and you have a speaker in every crevice. So like no matter where you're at in a venue, it sounds even. Like, so for that same reason, you want to spread out your stuff. So what I did was I spread everything out. So instead of being back by the table in the corner, I put all my sound back in the corner. I put my furniture up front, so I'm right on the dance floor. So it's better for pictures. And then also like, so I can kind of like, a better visual, I don't like being so far away from the dance floor, but I spread out my speakers so it's evenly sounded all the way across. We ran 50-foot XLRs to link them, and we just literally spread them out. I actually took a whole video of it so you can kind of see. So again, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this, but check it out. And I spread everything out, by the way. So I got my furniture here, all our sound stuff back there in this corner, then speaker, and then speaker over there. So it's like even around the whole room. Rather than just having everything right here, I just spread it all out. Figured it'd be better that way. Sounds great. Now you might say that like, having the one speaker behind me, right? I'm going to go deaf, yada, yada, yada. I always have my speakers behind me. I do it to a fault. I probably shouldn't. But it definitely made for the best sound. I didn't need a monitor whatsoever because I had one of the stacks behind me. And everything was like nice and even. And even if you look at this picture here, you can kind of see like I put my furniture probably 30, 40 feet away from like my facade and setup, which I normally don't do. But that way I'm closer to the dance floor. It looks better for pictures, so you can kind of see the dance floor and then see me DJing, right? But then also I'm closer. I can like see the crowd. I can see what they're reacting to, all that. You don't want to DJ too far away either. and then it looked cleaner because like I utilize the furniture. I can have the furniture anywhere and like there's no bad side to the furniture. Like the backside looks good, but then I kept my facade further back because like the backside of that looks like shit because it's like all my sound and stuff. So if I had that too far up, guests could have like walked across like the wires, saw the back of my setup, kind of looks bad. So that's why I kind of separated the two. So definitely consider all that when you're setting up. I think it like makes a very, very huge difference. Very, very huge difference. And overall, aesthetically, I think it'll spread out even. You can actually see it in this picture where the speakers are. You know what I mean? Aesthetically, it looks good. For microphones and speeches and stuff like that, I don't have to worry about like all my speakers being in one corner. So like a feedback issue. If it's all spread out nice and evenly, you generally can walk around anywhere with the mic and be fine. So it worked out a little better. So consider all those things. And then on top of it, the last thing you have to think about when it comes to bigger crowds is reading your crowd in a macro way. Macro rather than micro. What I mean by that is look at the crowd as a whole more than you do looking at individual people. Obviously, always look at like the couple, make sure the couple's having fun and all that. But like try and look at the crowd more as a whole. When you do a lot of weddings, they're like 150, 200, right? Average 100, 150, 200. And then you get to a wedding with like 300, 400 people. You might tend to still look at the micro, right? Like when you have smaller weddings, you look at like this one group, of people and what they're reacting to, and then kind of feed off them and then build off them and keep it going. You might look at, like you kind of like think about it. Like when you're reading a crowd, right? Like how do you read a crowd? Like you look at little, individual people sometimes, you might like feed off of one person having a reaction, like, all right, I just got to build upon that, right? I do it too. When you have bigger crowds, you don't really want to do that because there's so many people, as much anyway, because there's so many people, there's always someone who's going to be, not necessarily turned off, but maybe just like it's not their favorite song and they might be leaving the dance floor. And there's always going to be somebody entering the dance floor or vibing, just because there's more people. So there's just more reactions altogether. And if you approach a bigger wedding and you're looking at the micro and you're looking at everybody's individual reactions, if you're kind of more like self-conscious and like, kind of feeling like, oh, I hope this song works, you're going to find a lot of people, you'll be more likely to find someone that's like not vibing to it. And that can mess you up and be like, get in your head and be like, oh shit, well, it's not working. I got to change it up. You got to kind of like look for the greater good. When you play a song, are you having a bigger, greater reaction from everybody, than another song, right? Like what's having the most impact as a whole to all the people, rather than like, wow, like this one group didn't like the song, because there's always going to be that one group when you have 200, 300 people in the dance floor. There's always going to be, you just got to play majority of the best music, the music that the majority likes, right? And you got to stick with that. Don't get too caught up. Because I did this weekend on Saturday. It's been a while since I had a wedding this big, and I started out and I was like, oh man, like I feel like, and because I'm looking at the edge, and like I'm good. All right, I think I got him. And then I play one song, and then like a couple people go off, but they're still partying. But I'm like, man, why'd those people leave? And then I'm thinking about those people. I'm like, shit. Well, maybe I should have played that. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait, no, macro, Nick, okay? Because like I'm about to literally change up what I wanted to do, which in my opinion was a correct play, which actually ended up working. I was about to change that up because I lost a certain group of people. You get in your own head. There's just like a lot of like, it's so hard to explain and articulate into words, but like when you're reading a crowd, there's just so many little factors and so many things you think of. Obviously you guys all know this. And like, you want to kind of just steadfast. You want to just stay moving forward. You don't want to talk yourself out of like really good programming ideas just because a certain amount of people didn't like it or whatever, where like, you got to look at the greater good. Just make sure as long as the majority of the crowd is happy, you're good, and keep it pushing. Okay. Don't overthink it. It's very easy to overthink it. That's my only point with that. But those are my tips for bigger weddings, people, okay? If you have any additional tips, if you do bigger weddings a lot, feel free to leave it in the comments. Let the people know. I'm always looking for tips as well. But generally speaking, of course, big weddings are something to look forward to. They're a lot of fun. When you have 300-400 people, it's not out of the ordinary to have 150, 200 people on your dance floor. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's definitely, the more the merrier. The bigger the crowd, the more energy, the more fun it is. So, definitely something to look forward to. But as long as you keep the three things I talked about in check,